You can't explain why you're exhausted. Nothing happened. You walked into a room, sat down, exchanged a few ordinary words, and now your chest feels heavy, your breathing has gone shallow, and a wave of tiredness is moving through your body that doesn't seem to belong to you. You replay the evening, trying to find the moment it happened. There wasn't one. But someone in that room was carrying something: stress, sadness, unspoken tension. And you picked it up without realizing you were reaching for it. Your body absorbed it first. Your awareness is only catching up now. This isn't one strange evening. It's a pattern. A friend sends a late-night message, and before you've read past the first line, your stomach tightens. Your partner comes home quiet, and suddenly you feel responsible for fixing a mood you didn't create. A coworker's frustration in a meeting becomes tension you carry through your entire afternoon. The faces change, but the internal sequence stays the same. You enter a situation, pick up someone's emotional state, and feel an almost gravitational pull to take it on. And then you wonder why you're drained at the end of the day when technically nothing that happened was directly about you. For a long time, you probably explained this to yourself one of two ways. Either I'm just too sensitive, or I'm not handling things as well as other people do. Those explanations sting because they turn a process you never chose into a personal failing. You watch other people seem unaffected, moving through the same social situations without being pulled under, and the only conclusion left is that something is wrong with how you're built. But what if the exhaustion doesn't come from being too sensitive? What if it comes from doing something specific, something you've never been given the language to see? There's a distinction between empathy and emotional absorption that rarely gets explained clearly. Empathy is perception. It's the ability to sense what someone else is feeling, to recognize their sadness, their anxiety, their frustration. But recognizing is not the same as taking it into your own system. Absorption is what happens when that perception slides into something else. You don't just notice their pain, you start carrying it in your body as if it's yours. You stop being someone who is aware of their emotion and become someone feeling it alongside them. Not as a witness, but as a participant who never chose to join. The confusion comes because these two things happen so close together. The perception and the absorption collapse into a single motion, so fast you don't notice there's a gap between them. You think you're just being caring. You think this is what connection requires. But internally, something different is happening. Your nervous system is treating another person's emotional state as information about your own reality and responding accordingly. And the boundary between you disappears before you can see it go. If you trace the process backward, you'll find a predictable sequence. First, you pick up a signal. Someone's tone changes, their energy drops, their face shifts. This part is automatic, and it isn't the problem. But then, instead of simply registering what you've sensed, your body begins replicating it. Your posture responds to their posture. Your mood mirrors theirs. And almost immediately, urgency appears. Something in you feels compelled to act, say something, fix something, absorb the discomfort. You become the person who manages the emotional field around you, not because anyone asked, but because the sequence runs its course before your conscious mind can interrupt it. The cost of this is larger than exhaustion. When your system learns that connection means absorption, you start protecting yourself in ways you might not connect back to the original pattern. You hesitate before asking, "How are you?" because you know where that question can lead. You dread the phone ringing, not because you don't care, but because your body has learned what follows. You keep interactions light. You pull back from people you love because the price of closeness has become too high, and the loneliness of this is particular. You can be surrounded by people who love you and still feel isolated, because nobody sees how much you're holding that isn't yours. And there's something even harder underneath that. The absorption doesn't even allow for real helping. When you're drowning in someone else's emotion, you can't offer steady presence. You can only flail alongside them. Your care becomes less useful, not more, precisely because you've lost the distance that would let you actually help. Caring has become indistinguishable from disappearing into someone else's inner world. Here's the turn. The pain you've been living with has never been evidence that you're too empathetic. It's been evidence that you haven't yet learned to distinguish between sensing someone's pain and taking responsibility for it. One is perception. The other is a learned pattern of self-abandonment dressed up as care. The exhaustion, the avoidance, the guilt, none of it means you're broken. It means you've been running a process you didn't know you could stop. And the relief isn't in becoming less sensitive. It's in finally naming what's actually been happening. You've been calling it caring too much when what's been happening is that you've been giving away your internal space without realizing you had a choice. Building a psychological boundary doesn't start with pushing people away. It doesn't require becoming cold or caring less. It starts with something much smaller and more internal. Learning to notice the gap between I can feel what you're feeling and I now need to carry what you're feeling. Those two things can exist in the same moment without collapsing into each other. You can sense someone's sadness and still remain inside your own body. You can recognize their anxiety without your own breathing changing. The boundary isn't a wall. It's a quiet internal distinction between what's yours to hold and what isn't. A distinction you can learn to notice and, eventually, to trust. The first time you feel someone's heaviness in a room and don't immediately absorb it, you'll notice something unfamiliar. You're still present. You haven't abandoned them. You're just no longer abandoning yourself. If that distinction is something you want to keep exploring, subscribe. There's more here for anyone learning to stay present without losing themselves.